Okay, so welcome everybody to the November 8th meeting that is intended to be this regional kind of network building where we hear all things happening in our region related to the pre-educator pathway and educators rising. All of these meetings are recorded and kind of held in a YouTube playlist so that, if you know somebody who's just starting out and wants to go back and kind of listen to these, hopefully they are somewhat helpful. That's the intent at least. So today we have the same format as normal, where we kind of break this hour into 20-minute intervals. We're going to share updates and events, and that'll be from myself and Kaylin McKee. Lots of events coming up, and not only are we going to share events, but also some advice or just suggestions for what you can do with your clubs and courses to get them ready for competitions. I know some kids are really afraid or nervous about being in a competition, but if you have attended any of the state conferences before, it's super friendly. The judges are always really nice, and I know that it's intended to be really a learning experience for them. So we're going to give you some resources to be able to consider bringing into your clubs and courses to prepare them for those competitions. And also the call for proposals for presentations is now out for the state conference at UL Monroe. And so we're going to share with you what we know so far about that call for proposals and just advice. So, Kaylin and I have been involved in the state conference for the last 2 years. So we were lucky enough to be able to kind of like review some of those proposals and things. So we were just going to share kind of tips on some of the ones that came in that we found really, really great. And then we will also hear from Mr. Sai Duga about some EdRising Club resources to bring into your clubs to make it easier for the planning around, like, okay, we have this club, but what do we do as part of it? And also from Ms. Sherry Holloman and Callie Christ. Sherry is with Lafayette High School. Callie Christ is with Big Brothers Big Sisters of Acadiana. And so we will hear from them something that they're doing to work with elementary feeder schools. And then finally, we'll try to end this time. Isn't always 20 minutes long, but hopefully we end with 20 minutes for some open discussion. We would just love to make this a place where we can hear things that are working for you, any progress that you've had, and any ongoing obstacles that you might need help kind of figuring out. Okay, so updates and events. This is the same slide that we shared at the last regional meeting, but I just wanted to kind of put these dates up on the screen again. November 10th is this Friday. This is just a UL Lafayette Educators Rising member meeting, but for the first time, we're inviting high schoolers to join this meeting. And so we're kind of testing out what that looks like. This is our final meeting of the fall semester. So we're seeing what it looks like to be able to invite high schoolers for the last meeting of each semester. So there would be one in the fall, one in the spring. So to test that out, Sai Duga is bringing, I think, 92, right, Sai, high schoolers from Lafayette Parish. So we're super excited to see how that works. Then on November 14th, we are hosting a Louisiana Department of Education site visit, and that will be held they're going to start at Lafayette Middle to see one of their clubs and also hear from Ms. Tia Trahan, who is the new Louisiana Principal of the Year. Then they will come to our campus, UL Lafayette's campus, to hear some suggestions on districts working with institutions of higher ed, and kind of how we've set up and established our collegiate chapter. And then they will end their day at Lafayette High School visiting Ms. Sherry Holloman's 2 Educators Rising courses, and then kind of engaging in a Q&A. So this is a chance for districts across the state to come and see what's working around in our area. Then on the 29th, as you know, that's the state conference. We'll talk a lot more about that. I also just wanted to mention March 9th is for any like new teachers who are just getting started, or teachers who kind of need just like, I don't know, kind of a boost sometime in the spring. This is a conference that was built out by some of our alumni who are current teachers, who have been teachers for between 7 and 10 years, who just wanted to build out a conference for teachers, designed by teachers, meant to be kind of a springtime invigorating experience. And that'll be on UL Lafayette's campus on March 9th. March 19th will be our Regional Educators Rising our regional conference here at UL, matched with a Future Teacher Signing Day. So if you have any seniors in your programs who are going to be graduating in May and looking at signing on to UL, just keep an eye out. We'll send out a form kind of like we did last year. And we really hope that you'll join us on that day to be able to, roll out the red carpet for them and have them signing on. We are still waiting on the confirmation to have the Aspiring Educator Summer Academy here at UL. So that will take place summer 2024, pending some state funding, just needs to be confirmed. But once we have that confirmed, we'll definitely send that information out, because this is for high school juniors and seniors to come. It's completely free to them. And it's kind of like a summer camp meets Educators Rising. They get to work with kids. They get to hear from, experts in the field. So a really cool experience that we're really looking forward to. And then finally, just something to have on your radar, June 28th through July 1st is the Educators Rising National Conference in Washington, D.C. They will also send out a call for proposals for conference presentations, just like the state conference does. And they also offer competitions, and a lot more of them, just like the state conference does. So, don't think that you can't present at a national conference with a group of students, because that's really some of the things that they're looking for is tapping into not only like our knowledge, but really combining. I think I mentioned last time that I did a presentation last summer with an education major. She was a junior, and it was fantastic. It was such a great experience. Okay, so I'll click quickly through these. We'll get back to that conference. These are just kind of highlights of these different events. But for now, we'll kind of switch gears and focus on how do you prepare yourselves and your students for the state conference at UL Monroe on February 29th. And so Kaylin McKee is here to kind of walk us through what it might look like to submit a presentation proposal. And as she's kind of walking through this, I will also be putting links in the chat, because the call for proposals is open. So it just looks like a form. For now, you could just show this to your students, but that's ultimately where you'll submit. And she'll also talk to you about a competition prep. Kaylin.
Yeah, so Amy's gonna have to like click through for me. But basically the biggest like thing to tell your students is just to not be overwhelmed. This is supposed to be really fun. Submitting a proposal and talking in front of their peers. So whether they're high school students or you work at a college or whatever, they can do a proposal by themselves. You can do it with them, or a group of students can come together. So you can kind of read through this year's theme is Discover Your Legacy. In Washington, D.C., the theme is Discover Your Potential. So again, we're just asking people to prevent different submit different proposals in different areas. So I think it's on the next slide, Amy, when we go over the different types of proposals. Go through. Yeah, so that's going to be on the next one. So the conference strands, here's just a couple of different topics. You don't necessarily have to, or your students don't have to come up with proposals specific in these areas, but these are going to be definitely some strands that are going to be looked at. And Dr. Weems might talk a little bit more of this in a little bit when she talks more about the specific conference. But the biggest thing is the presentation formats. There are different types of things that you can do. So the one thing is just basic speaker presentation, so almost kind of like a lecture. So there's a topic that you want to do, there's a cool thing that you're doing in a classroom or a school project that you're doing, and you get up there and you and your students talk about it. Another one that we got a lot of submissions for last year are just panels. So having a variety of people just sit on a panel, and it's a Q&A, regardless of what type of experience that you're asking about. Typically the panels do have themes. Interactive workshops. So we had a couple of those last year. For instance, some of our art education students, they did some roundtables at lunch. And one student did, he called them seed bombs, but they made seeds with like different dirt and things like that that dried out. And then you can go and throw them, and then like random flowers will sprout. And so that was kind of like an interactive workshop. It's more of a hands-on. I did one 2 years ago, and it's how to incorporate physical activity in the classroom. So this is when your participants are actually more active. A poster showcase. So if you have a project or something they want to talk about, or research a particular topic, they print a poster and they talk about it. Again, interactive bulletin boards, and then teaching or learning as art. So those are kind of the different presentation formats. So you and or your students can kind of talk about what would you want to do, and you can come up with any topic and present it in any format that you're comfortable in. So if you want to go to the next slide, Amy. So here's just a couple of examples from last year, the last couple of years. So you'll notice just your typical lecture, your panel is you're sitting up in the front, you're basically hosting a Q&A. Poster showcase, the way that we did it was we had our poster time was during lunch for people to come around and kind of visit. Again, Dr. Williams might be able to say or show how they're going to be doing a poster showcase this year. And then hands-on workshop is just your students or your participants are up and they're participating in whatever type of project you're having them do. And there's lots of different ways to organize that hands-on workshop.
I just wanted to ask, is anybody already working on this? Has anyone worked on this with students and are planning to submit a presentation? Okay. Yeah, you can see, like Kaylin said, like the panels are always a big hit. Like this, they like to be able to kind of engage. And I think for students, it feels a little bit different if I'm going to be on a panel with my peers and my teacher than if I'm just going to be by myself at the front being a speaker, even though that's encouraged. And I know we had one of Ms. Holloman's students do that a couple of years ago, and it was great. So, you know, there's all kinds of varieties. That's what this is intended to show that. And as we said, this will be recorded so we can share the slides with you if you want to show your students these things and maybe get them excited about it. And Kaylin, did you want to go through these tips? Yeah.
Sure. Okay, so when you're thinking about your presentation proposal tips, as you're talking to your students, especially if you're going to give them maybe the task of coming up with the proposal, it never hurts to apply, whether you get accepted or not. It's just a really good experience for your students. So just some overall tips. The first thing is be appealing. So come up with the catchy title. Again, the basic or the most the biggest audience are high school students. So what are they interested in? So maybe it's AI and how to use that in the school and appropriate uses of AI or, you know, whatever. And then provide an abstract that invites the audience to attend. I will say as a reviewer for a couple of different conferences, the biggest issue I often see with the abstract is you use too technical of writing and it might go over people's heads or it just seems really complicated. So as your students are potentially writing that abstract, obviously they want to write about what they know, but make sure that anyone who's attending, even if it's a middle school student, they can understand what they're going to be participating in when they come into that session. So that's really important. The second thing I already kind of alluded to is know your audience. So again, it's young adults, it's middle school teachers or students. So we're not here necessarily to talk to only adults unless you want to do a session specifically for Ed Rising advisors. You know, write that and make sure that's part of your audience, and then make sure that your proposal is geared towards and it's just clear who it's for. Again, we got some before that it's kind of vague on what's the intended purpose. So make sure that that comes clear and you're communicating clearly regarding that. Consider the format. So some formats are better for some presentation topics than others. So really brainstorm kind of what would be better. I'm a PE teacher by trade, so I'm always doing hands-on workshops. Me sitting and talking to people about why physical activity is important, that doesn't do anything for me. I want to show you and I want y'all to do it with me. So I always do hands-on workshops. So kind of keep the format in mind, what would work best for that. In your presentation proposal, just make sure that you provide your why. So why is this important? Why should people come to it? And why is it significant? Are you adding to any gaps or are you building on things that have been discussed before? And then again, the biggest thing is have fun and be creative. There are 4 or 5 different proposal tips or formats that we've suggested, but maybe you have something that's different, or maybe you have something that's kind of hybrid, and that's great too. So I've done a workshop before where I pre-recorded my lecture and then all the attendees were actually actively working so they could have a takeaway. That way I was going around, I was providing them feedback the whole time while they were working on their assessment rubrics and stuff. So kind of think outside the box and what is interesting to you and your students and go for it. And so those are just a couple of things just from our point of view as reviewers last year and seeing lots of different variation that we've received. The biggest thing I think is for sure when you're writing your abstract, be clear and don't be too technical. It doesn't have to sound too academic. Sometimes we get bogged down with that academic language, and that's obvious, not always the best. So
Yeah, because most of the audience is excited middle school, high schoolers, and college students who want to go to something fun and engaging. And so, you can keep it light and exciting. Awesome. Thanks, Kaylin. And I think we have Amy Weems on here. If you, Amy, would you, I think this is just kind of a general slide about what to do as far as like being eligible for those competitions. And then I will also pull up the competition page that you have from the website.
Hello, glad to see people today. The only thing that really is required that we will have to double check is that students have to be members at the national level to be eligible to compete in the state competitions. We do have some exciting incentives for state competition. Winners will get their national registration fee paid, and registration fee for the advisor of the winning students will also be paid. So very excited to share that opportunity. For the competitions that we have selected, we have put this out, but I want to put it out again. I'll put this web address in the chat. This is where you can find all information about the initiatives in our School of Education at ULM, but also specifically for the state conference. So when you go there, you will see an info sheet, the competition prep guide for the 8 competitions that we have selected. So we have also put the different rubrics there. So if a competition has middle school, high school, and collegiate competitions separated out, we have linked those there. We've also put in very important deadlines. And we are offering session A and session B. So session A is the first kind of earlier time for competitions, and then B. So this is if you have any students that want to do multiple competitions, they would have to pick one from A, one from B to ensure that there's no overlap there. We also tried to put in 2 opportunities for group competitions, one in the A session and one in the B session, with some different help text that's specific to Louisiana. So does anybody have questions about the competitions? We've also posted what will be an open competition and what will be closed. No. Again, we are looking for judges. This is the one thing that we have not posted to the website yet. We will do a call for volunteer judges. We are looking for around 30 judges for these competitions. We will comp your state conference registration fee, and you only have to judge in session A or session B, unless you just really want to do some judging and do both sessions. So we will do the call for volunteer judges hopefully next week.
Great, thank you. So we will get the link to this this document here, but if you go to the other link that Amy put in the chat, you can see that it'll take you to this page. And so this has everything in it. So this is where you register to attend, submit a session proposal, and then register to compete. But then this is where need more information about the state competition. Click here. That's where that that document that I just had on the screen is, where you can find all the rubrics and more details about all of those. So that link is in the chat right now. Thank you, Amy. Any other questions for Amy?
Thanks, guys. Have a good one.
Thanks so much. That's so exciting about the national registration fee being covered, not only for the student, but also for the sponsor. That's awesome. And I think that's about, it's about $300, right, for the registration. So that's really significant and exciting. And here's just a, kind of a overview of the competitions list. And they are asking that you register your students by January 19th. And it's important to kind of note who is eligible off to the side. So you can see like children's literature is not available for college students, but then the ones that don't have anything, right, Amy, are available to middle, high school, or college.
Yes.
Okay. Very good. Okay, so that brings us to our next portion, which is the advice from the field, and we will start with Mr. Saiduga about club resources. Sai, do you need to share your screen?
If you want to just click on that link for me, Amy, that's fine.
Okay.
Cool. Hi, everybody. I hope y'all are doing well. Thanksgiving isn't that far away, so just keep on keeping on. We had a State Ed Rising meeting a few weeks back, and probably, in fact, not probably, several of y'all were on it too. And so you may have gotten these resources, and I've shared these out with the schools in Lafayette Parish, but I found they were kind of neat, and I am a little envious. I didn't think of the way that they organizing their idea for how to run clubs in different places. So if any of you are like us, our club meetings, we are in Lafayette Parish, we use a combination of some of the lessons from the Ed Rising curriculum and, do a deeper dive, or with middle schools, like just give them a preview of what's going on. But I really found it really cool the way they have this organized. So I wanted to review real quick. But first off, at the top, there's several neat links that just will bring you to all kinds of great information, a guide for starting clubs. Yeah, there's just a ton of good stuff here that's really neat. And then recruitment and promotion, there are some really neat things in there too. I advise that you take a look at those, but it's probably things that you've gotten already off of the Ed Rising website. You can find all of this in the resources section there. But what I really liked was the way this is a cool concept, in my opinion. Organizing your monthly or bi-weekly, depending on how you do your clubs, into a theme. And I thought it was a really neat idea. I thought just the concept of this is a cool thing. Notice they do incorporate at different times parts of the lessons. You see in, I'm pointing with my mouse like y'all can see me. It's been a long day. Under event and theme, they do address a standard every month for those of our clubs, and we do the same thing in our middle school clubs. So we have a standard that we address, and sometimes it takes us 2 to 3 meetings to cover what we want. But I really love the fact that they theme it around what else is happening that month. So you'll notice and Amy, can you go down to November? So let's look at November, what they're looking at. So they, they organize their clubs around what needs to be done. They have, a piece of the standard 3, but they also are taking notice of things that are happening maybe global. It happens to be Native American Heritage Month. And so if they're doing activities in the club or themes, or if they're doing any kind of posters or decorations, they're theming it around there. Now, I'm not saying take this and do exactly that, but I just think it's a nice concept. And I think in Lafayette Parish, I'll work with the sponsors, and maybe we could do a little something like that too, to where you could bring in things outside of directly information and recognize other pieces of our society and the world, that things that are going on that we could recognize too. Because remember, in our clubs, we will have a lot of kids who directly want to go into teaching, but we also have other kids who are just exploring. And why not give them a chance to explore some positive things, doing some good in the world? I say this often, but I'll keep on saying, we're not just building teachers, we're building supporters of education, supporters of other humans. And I think it's really neat. So I think this is a great resource to think about how we organize our clubs. I know some of us do clubs on different things. Some schools do clubs on a monthly model. Some are doing them as often as weekly, but just having a model where you're theming along with the standard that you're looking at, I think is really good. All of these resources are in here. It's a short, it's a 2 or 3 page, I think it's 2-page document, but it's well worth looking at. And it goes all the way through the end of the year. So it is 3 pages, but just the idea of a theme. And there's some really neat ideas. And Amy, if you could go all the way back to the top. So again, I love the calendar model. Maybe think about that as you are planning your group meetings. Even better, ask your club, what would you like to have as a theme for December, and give them some ideas of things that are going on and see if they want to do some work with there. You might tie it into your service projects if that's something neat. I'm thinking of Sherry right now with her whole Christmas and giving piece and the books and everything else. There could be something really neat you could go into there. And there's some great resources again at the top that tie into there. So I'm trying to keep it short, Amy, and that's all I have, but those resources are available to you. If you can't, for some reason, click on that copy, shoot me an email and I'll send you one myself.
Thank you, Sai. And I did put the link into this document in the chat, so hopefully it works. I saw a couple people pop in. So all of these things are clickable. And again, this is just something that is meant to be kind of an assistant to helping you to plan your meetings. But of course, you have freedom to, to stray from this however you'd like.
The link does work, and yes, thank you for mentioning the freedom. It is your clubs, and that I just thought it was a neat concept to run around a theme for the month. I know a lot of schools, again, I'm gonna pick on Sherry, they do decorations outside. The kids chalk the school. If they wanted to have, if you tie it into that, it could tie into more than just your club meeting. So thank y'all.
Thank you, Sai. And oh, here's some of Sai's awesome pictures from all of his efforts and work across Lafayette Parish. It's just been so awesome to watch it grow. I think it's in 14 schools now and over 227-ish students. So really, really amazing to see. So our next advice from the field, our voices from the field, is talking about thinking about innovative ways to kind of expose your high school and even middle school students to some, what we call in higher ed, like clinical experience or field experience, where students who have an interest in pursuing a career in education are able to really work with kids. And so we asked Miss Holloman and Callie Christ if they would share with us some of the work that's just getting started at Lafayette High to connect them with S.J. Montgomery, which is just down the sidewalk. So turn it over to them.
Can you hear me? Yeah.
Yes.
Well, we've been working with Big Brothers Big Sisters. We tried to get it off the ground last year and we didn't get to, but we've always had a connection to S.J. Montgomery. Even 6 years ago when I started the club, we had a Christmas book drive, and because we're a small club, we actually invited other clubs to participate, and I would have their rosters and I would collect books from different clubs, and I would write down who brought things, and we will then we wrap them. And I mean, the students will get service hours for this, and I write down, because we offer it to other people because we want to give as many books as we can. And every year we have wrapped over 250 books for S.J. Montgomery, and we check the Lexile order, and we put them in the different bags, pre-K, kindergarten, all the way up through 5th grade. And it has been so heartwarming because 250 books a year for the past 6 years has really gone a long way. This year, the Big Brothers, besides just going to do our Christmas book drive, which was starting right after Thanksgiving, Big Brothers Big Sisters has been working with us for several weeks. The paperwork involved in the littles and the bigs is what it's called. All of my 2 classes have been interviewed and vetted, and they're placing them with 4th grade students, and they're going to become their big brother or big sister. They're called the bigs and the littles for the remainder of the school year. And we're going to walk down there twice a month on Wednesdays. We're going to walk 7th hour, then come all the way back, and then go 8th hour and come back. And we're going to, they've asked them very personal questions. There was a lot of paperwork to do with the parents, to make sure everything was on the up and up. And they're going to start actually right after Thanksgiving. So we're super excited about that. We've never had that done. And we're the first time that Big Brothers and Big Sisters have ever paired with a high school. So it's going to be very interesting and so rewarding. The kids are really looking forward to it. It's exciting.
And it's what we're here for, Sherry. That's been like, and I see Dr. Barber smiling because this has been one of her dreams since the start, is to really make these connections all the way from elementary through there. And thank you so much, because I know it's been a lot of work on your part, but I can't wait, because if we can get this as a pilot off the ground, it'll be so exciting when it's all through the district. So thank you, Sherry. That makes me,
I can't wait.
That brightens up a day that's been long.
And I'll just add, wait, am I on mute or can y'all hear me?
We can hear you.
Oh, good. Okay. I've been having some technical difficulties. I just want to add that we are just so excited to partner with Lafayette High and SJ Montgomery for this initiative. And I know I haven't worked directly with you, Ms. Holloman, but Brittany and Jordan have, and they've just had a lovely experience so far, and are really excited, particularly around being really intentional and in the high school students, sort of helping to build up that curriculum and also identifying students. I know Brittany had shared with me today that the I believe 10 of the fourth graders and that were enrolled, none of them met their AR goals previously, so they're gonna be working with them on AR. And so we're just really excited and already having some conversations with David Thibodeau. They are very interested in the same program with J. Wallace James and or JW Falk, actually. So we know that there's a lot of enthusiasm around the concept, and so we're really excited about it.
Awesome. And if you don't know, Callie Christ, you are what is your title at
CEO at Big Brothers Big Sisters?
Big Brothers Big Sisters, yes. Thank you so much for being here. And I think, what would you say, like, if there are other schools or districts who don't have anything like this? I know that this is meant to be a pilot and it's taken a lot of work on y'all's part to figure this out, but what would you suggest for getting started?
Well, I think they definitely connecting with our program manager and our site-based program coordinator. If we have an existing relationship at the schools with our regular site-based mentoring, it's really easy. And again, while we want to ensure that we have the capacity to take on other schools, and that's something that we're working through now, is sort of building out that capacity plan to ensure that whatever we're starting is sustainable over the next 5 to 10 years, and that we can also expand throughout the district and go into other districts, right? So it's really just the schools reaching out to us and expressing interest in developing a partnership and a program.
And
And
Callie,
again,
I'm so glad you said that though about other districts too, because I think everybody on the call, I hope y'all, we're trying to model what can work everywhere, and we would love the same kind of things and just these ideas of, if you're in St. Martin or Vermilion or somewhere else, that there are people to reach out to. You can make those connections and really do that great work. So thank you, Callie, for just mentioning it's not just Lafayette. We want this everywhere.
Yeah, 100%. And the great thing is, while the bulk of our site-based programming is spread across 12 to 13 schools in Lafayette Parish, we just started enrolling kids and established a partnership with like Eaton Park in Abbeville. So really excited to show those other outlying communities that we do serve, that we want to expand and build capacity in those regions to serve kids through whether just regular site-based mentoring with Bigs or in a partnership like High School Bigs.
Hey, Callie, I'm Erin Atkins. I work at Acadiana. We are starting a partnership with Prairie, which is right down the street from us. So if we could go through this part too, I think that'd be great.
100%. So Erin, I'm gonna pass on your contact if that's okay. I think you might be in that email chain potentially to my program manager and site-based manager, and I'll mention it, and maybe we can get together and have a meeting about that.
Perfect.
We already have a partnership at Prairie as well. So we have some matches there. And so we're active at Prairie.
And Dr. Atkins, maybe next meeting, would you mind talking about some of the ideas that Acadiana High is doing? They're doing some great things too. And I know we're going to have some progress made, but maybe Amy, if you could, Dr. Atkins could talk about that, because they have some unique ideas there too that I think are going to be wonderful.
Yeah, I mean, I was actually just going to ask you, Erin, if you would mind sharing, because I know it'd be great if we could all tap into Big Brothers Big Sisters, but in the meantime, would you mind sharing what y'all are already talking about with Prairie?
I started working with the early childhood department through Lafayette Parish, and then kind of got our librarians involved, and I think it's kind of going into the Foundations of Ed class. But we've started Little Rams Read, which is like story times to go kit, similar to what the public library does. So we have a lot of our own students who have their own children, and we know they're going to be coming through the school system. So they've created these little bags that they can check out. It has a book in it. For some of them, it has some kind of manipulative, depending on the age, but it's all age-based. They have activities that are rooted in the early childhood standards. So our students can check these out, and we didn't necessarily market it to students with their own children. It's for kids who have younger siblings or cousins or neighbors or babysit or just a young child in their life. So then that somehow kind of led over into us working with Prairie's pre-K classes. So I think they have 54 students in their 3 pre-K classes. And our kids are going to go over at some point in December. We're working, we'll pick a day, and they're going to maybe do the whole activity with the pre-K kids and then let them take that home.
Amazing. Thanks so
great,
much for
yeah.
sharing. And, you know, I like to think of, as a former first grade teacher, like the piece that keeps me in teaching, like currently I teach college students, the piece that keeps me in there is, like I say, relationships and light bulbs. Like when you can experience what it's like to have a real relationship with students and then play a role in having light bulbs go off, like when they play a role in their learning. I think for some of these middle and high school students to be able to see what it's like to read with a child, to play a part in their learning. Those are the things that are going to inspire them to want to choose a career in education. So this is awesome and so exciting. And thank y'all for your willingness to share for other schools to consider what they can do. Anything else about this, or any questions or comments?
I can't help but make a comment that those 2 stories right there just are exactly what I think we've all hoped this is going to become. If you want to create a teacher, let them start teaching, let them see the joy that comes from this, and it's going to be incredible. So this made my day, those last 2 things. Thank y'all.
Thank y'all.
Awesome. And I see Sean Taylor in the comments said that St. Martin would be interested in looking into this too. Maybe Callie, would you mind putting your email in the chat? Or
Sure.
and I know we're not going to, you know, overwhelm y'all with all of the but if we can kind of start to think about what's step 1, step 2, and then go from there, because it's really exciting. Great. So that brings us into our open discussion. So this is just time we would love to hear anybody, even if it's the smallest, you know, progress, what's working well for you, what progress can you share, or what else do you need to feel like you're making your program successful? So it's open floor.
Well, Amy, I'm going to share because I was at Acadiana High today. And I actually had 15 or 20 minutes to go into into the class. And Mr. Canone is doing some really neat things with his pre-ed, his foundations class. They're doing mini lessons, and it really reminded me of the concept that Doug, kind of like the Change Maker, you know what they're doing Friday, where they're doing the 5-minute presentations. Well, he kind of started getting them more used to the presentation thing, because some of the kids are shy. They aren't all. And so he's starting really small. And I was telling them they're going to be very excited to see Friday when they see this, because I think they're going to see a lot of what they were scared of. Dr. Williams' students being the same way. But these short lessons, which kind of brings kids in, and Sherry's doing the same thing too. I should have mentioned that. I went to her class yesterday. But the concept of getting kids to start small with small lessons and not thinking, oh my God, I have to teach a full class and do the whole lesson cycle, but it gets them there. And those are really effective. And some of the kids come up with some incredible short lessons. So it really got me excited about the capability of doing that there. And that's an activity that could expand into a club model. You know, most clubs the meetings aren't but 30, 45 minutes, but you could have an activity where kids do a 1 to 2 minute elevator lesson. I was really excited about that. It was fun to see, like I said, in both Sherry's class and Matt's class, that concept of starting small, getting kids comfortable, because the micro credential is coming up and they're big lessons. So I was really excited with that.
Yeah, and that makes me think too that they'll probably be more comfortable with the idea of submitting a conference proposal like that. That can sound really scary if you've never spoken in front of anyone, but maybe those baby steps as part of the club or courses can help you feel more confident. That's awesome. And that's Matt Canone at Acadiana High.
We had 2 lessons today. One of them, and I told them they could make up whatever they wanted to do for their first lesson to get comfortable. And one of my senior boys taught us how to knit. He brought a bag because he's taking knitting for his pride period, and he bought everybody a bag with some he used chopsticks or whatever, and then yarn, and he literally had a PowerPoint on how to teach us knitting. And of course, I was stupid. I couldn't do it. But you should have seen those football players really learning, what stitch is this? What stitch is this? And another one brought all of her paraphernalia because she's a flag and rifle corps. And we literally had to go outside and learn how to do the flags and the rifles. It was, and they did their lesson plans, they did their objectives. And it was just something they started out that's comfortable for them before they turned it into an academic, lesson.
But
And they
Sherry, think
been
about what you're
adorable.
teaching them there too. No matter what profession they go into,
Yep.
teaching as
Speak.
a parent, as
Yep.
everything, it all ties in, and those are wonderful. And I think that's
Well, Matt's the one that gave me the idea for this because I hadn't done that last year. And Matt Canone said, we're doing mini lessons. I said, what a great idea. So I stole it from him. So he gets the credit.
I love it. And that, by the way, is what these meetings are intended to do, to steal from each other. So like,
Yes.
please do share, because as
Yes.
teachers, we know that we're always fine with that. Anybody else?
Well, I'm gonna share one more, and then I promise you I'll shut up. But I can't help but tout the things that are going on. I see Megan Fagenbush is on. She has taken so Como didn't have a club last year, and they have really, gone all out into building a club up over there. Megan's super creative in the club, so she takes my little rinky-dink slides that I put together with little ideas and really just brings them together. But what I admire, and I don't know if Megan wants to say anything, but she's big on service too. So her kids, like, they have organized like service activities around the school where the expectation is that, if you plan on being a teacher, here's a great chance to learn by doing for others. They took a class picture of some kids who had helped with some event recently. But I'm really proud of that club, because to go from nothing, never had a club at Como, never thought about this, to I believe there were almost 30 members at the last meeting, at high 20s in just a short period of time. This is only the 4th or 5th club meeting. A lot to be proud of there. She's growing it up a lot. Como has huge potential too. Megan, I hope I didn't step on your toes.
No, you're good. I love teaching so much, and I know that most of the students who are currently in the club, that might not be what they want to do, but they like to tell me a lot of things. And so I know what they expect out of teachers, and I want them to be able to build that not only for their friends who want to be teachers, but just being a supporter of education in the future. So.
Absolutely. That's so important. And it speaks volumes for you as a teacher that you are recruiting all of those students, because we know that it takes a really great teacher to run these clubs and courses, because we want to show that really positive face of a great teacher. And so thank you, Megan, for being amazing at growing your club so well. That's fantastic. Anybody else?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, hi, this is Sean Taylor. So I actually was trying on my computer, but couldn't get the microphone to work. So I jumped onto my phone so that I don't know why my microphone's not working on my computer. But so I'm kind of new to the group. I was actually hired the day before school started this year into this position. So this is new for me. I'm learning. I'm enjoying the information that I'm learning from everyone. So I thank all of you for that. I have done a couple of different activities with my students that have been really, really fun. And it's gotten them to be real comfortable to get up in front of their classmates and speak. So I wanted to share those things with you. The first one is called PowerPoint Karaoke. And basically what we do for that is I have the students make a PowerPoint presentation or a slideshow presentation with 10 slides. Each slide has a different picture on it, and the pictures are just completely random. They go in and get pictures off the internet, put them on there, and then some unsuspecting, lovely, wonderful person gets to go up and do a presentation on those slides that they've never seen. and they have to make it make sense. Like we ultimately want to learn something. So they start with a topic. Like, for example, somebody did one and the topic was how to get your act together. And so they put 10 random pictures. One was a ceramic frog sitting on a bench, kind of like in Zen mode. And so that, you know, well, how to get your act together is sometimes just to get some peace and rest and what have you. So they've done a really good job with that. It's gotten to the point where when we have guest speakers coming, the kids are like, Miss Taylor, let us make them a PowerPoint karaoke for them to do. And that's what they have to do
Great.
first. So they've gotten really excited about that. That's been fun. And it's gotten them comfortable to get up in front of the class and quote unquote teach. So that's been a great icebreaker for them. And they've kind of just wanted to continue doing it. So every now and then we just pull out okay, it's time for a PowerPoint karaoke. Something else that we've done is what I've kind of called write a story, kind of just my name for it. And I put on one slide about 15 pictures of, again, random things. And they have 15 minutes to write a story, and somewhere in their story, they have to name everything that's on the screen. So there might be a picture of a mouse, there might be a picture of a set of keys, there might be an apple, there might be a desk, there might be a car. And so they have to come up with a story in 15 minutes that's gonna, at some point, name everything that's on the slide. Their stories have been great. I am so impressed with the writing that they're doing under the time constraint and making sure that they use all of the pictures on the screen. They're reading out their stories and really enjoying it. So that's a couple of activities that my students have been doing together just to kind of help with the feeling in front of everyone participating. And so I wanted to share that with you guys.
And Sean, imagine that first activity. Think about how many students that's what they feel like every day in school, where what's up in front of me, I have no concept of where that came from or what. That's a great learning thing for your students to recognize that this is, a lot of students feel that way in class. And we, as teachers who know our content so well, don't even remember that that's how some students feel, that what you're presenting in front of them is random things out there in the world. See, that's what having that counselor background, that is serving you really, really, really well right now.
It really is. My counselor background comes into play quite often. Yes.
I want to say, as a speech teacher, I just want to chime in and say, Sean, I love those ideas. I just wrote them down, not just for Ed Rising, but for my speech class. What a wonderful way to do impromptu speeches and just simply get them comfortable. So thank you for sharing that for speech for Ed Rising.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's almost like improv for teaching. So you're just having to get more comfortable with topics that are, unfamiliar. And it's also, I think, teaching them like creative teaching approaches, so it's like doing both. And since Amy mentioned impromptu speaking, that is one of the competitions. So I don't know, you might want to float that and see.
Yes. I've already gotten a couple of my kids that I think I'll be able to convince them to do improv for state competition, because like they are just so good up there. I'm like, I am telling you, whatever the content is, you can get up there and wing it. And like I told them, I said, it's sad to say, but I am telling you, as teachers, we have to wing it a lot of times. All of the lesson planning in the world that we do doesn't prepare us for the situations that come before us. And we have to be able to think on our toes and make it happen. And so I do have a couple of kids I think that are going to do the improv. I'm excited.
And Amy, in the chat, I just dropped, for those of us who were at our summer meeting, I don't know if y'all remembered, we had the shared document to share ideas. Please copy that doc out and put those ideas in there. Oh my goodness, can you imagine the resource we would have if we all put these great ideas that we have and shared them amongst each other? Sean, those were great. I'm stealing them. I'm just warning you now, those will be stolen and shared. But thank you. And again, that shared document is, if anything you want to put in there, just go ahead and drop those great ideas. Everybody, I'm going to make it open to anyone and use it. I mean, that's the whole point of doing all of this.
Yes. Awesome. Thanks for reminding us of that, Sai. It's a great document. Anybody else? Okay, well, thank y'all for sharing all of those ideas. We are a few minutes early. Our next regional meeting will be on Wednesday, January 10th, and this one should already be in your calendar with the same Zoom link. I'll try to send out a reminder again, but as always, all of these ideas are so amazing. If you would like for us to feature some of your work, or a student spotlight, if you want a student to share their experiences, anything that you think would benefit everyone, getting started or continuing or growing, please let us know, and we would love to feature any of your work at the next regional meeting. Yes, Cy.
And Amy, I'm going to share an idea that I give to grow my clubs, and I'm going to ask you all to do the same homework I give students after the first club meeting. I got, so today was long and a lot going on, and I'm much happier right now than I was an hour ago. I have to admit that. So here's my homework to you, the same homework I give to new club members. Invite a friend for the next club meeting. Send them the link. Amy will not mind. I won't mind. Share this link and bring one new person to the group next time. It can be an administrator. It could be a fellow teacher. They don't have to necessarily be directly involved in Ed Rising. This might just be inspiring to help things grow. So I'm giving y'all the same homework I give students after club meeting 1. Bring a friend next time. Share the link. We'd love to see double the number of people, and that'll help us get this word out that we have in these great meetings and doing good work.
Yes, awesome. Yes, please do. And please feel free to forward the calendar invite and invite whoever you want. That's what this is supposed to be for. It's just about getting us all together. So thank you all so much for joining today. And please be in touch. And otherwise, we'll see you again on Wednesday, January 10th. Bye.